Hey there, and welcome back to Tactical Breach Wizards. My name is Pete, and today we complete another episode of this completionist walkthrough on hard difficulty with health cut in half, and today's episode is going to be a little different from the last one. In that last episode, we had our first small boss fight against Steve the Traffic Warlock and Borikesh the less lethal Pyromancer, and not only did we win that fight, but we also unlocked the very elusive Look Both Ways achievement. The focus of today's episode will be much less grand. As a matter of fact, it will focus entirely on Jen, and to that end we quickly need to rearrange a perk point of hers. To complete all of today's confidence goals, it is absolutely vital that we do this. We want to remove the second use of the Gale Grenade and instead grab the second Wind upgrade, so that if friendlies are targeted by the grenade, they refresh their move action. And with that, we are now ready to get to it. So they're heading to Kalen? That's gonna be a problem. Why? There's no legal way in or out, we have no contacts there, and have you seen the news lately? The capital's on lockdown with the riots. Laws are suggestions, chaos is cover. That leaves Liv's team exposed. This'll be the first time they're cut off from their military support. It sounds like they at least have a safe house. Foreigners just vanish in Kalen. Shouldn't we hang back and let them run that risk? I can't. I'll understand if you don't want to risk it, Jen, but this trail, Liv's team, the war it leads to, it's the only thing I've been sure of in years. I've been in a bad place, watching the world burn from a couch, paralyzed, seeing every problem I'd caused by trying to be part of a solution. I can't go back to that, knowing I had a chance to act. Alright, I get it. I always liked the idea of throwing caution to the wind to make a difference, but now that we're here, I feel like I'm 96% caution by body weight. But I can get there. Thanks. I was never out. Oh, okay. What's the plan? Ask me again at breakfast. Whoa, this is new. Hi, I'm here too now. Why am I dreaming about talking to myself? Oh god, am I self-obsessed? Well, now you're dreaming about talking to yourself about yourself, so that hasn't helped. Given that we're both criticizing you though, I think this might be coming from a place of insecurity. Everything we've done since the age of 4 came from a place of insecurity. Wanna narrow it down? Not until we clear these rooms. 'Cause the cops represent my self-censorship or some shit? No, it's just kind of uncomfortable having a long personal conversation in the doorway. Oh, you get used to it. And there we go, welcome to Jen's Anxiety Dream. The game already kind of gives it away here, each one of our characters will have one of these. They do not progress the main storyline and they do not earn us experience points, but they do help us get to know our characters a bit more, and so today we start things off with Jen. Now the level here is quite interesting. The main objective only requires us to reach that green zone, and to do that we would not need to take out any enemies whatsoever. Jen's confidence goal, meanwhile, wants us to defenestrate 3 hostiles in 1 turn, and, well, we only start the level with 2, so completing both requires a bit of a setup. So, let's get to it. We'll breach with the real Jen, the other one has that blue background for her profile picture. Then we run towards the window and broom breach to get ourselves behind the sniper here. Somewhat counterintuitively, we now use Static Blast to push them away from the window. That's because otherwise the turret here would kill them after hacking it, and we definitely do not want that to happen. With Gen 2 then, or let's call her Dream Gen, we start things off very similarly. Move, broom breach, and then land right in front of the laptop here. This is one of 2 laptops on this level that can open the door leading into the green zone. The other one is over on this side and you only need to interact with 1. Afterwards then, we Static Blast the stun barrel to stun the heavy gunner. This keeps them in the perfect position right in front of the window, and with our bonus move we lock the reinforcement door and prevent a second one from spawning. After all, we only need to defenestrate 3 enemies. That third enemy then, a neutralizer, which should be manageable, but let's focus on the heavy gunner first. If we move into the right spot, a simple Static Blast will suffice. So that's 1 of 3. With our bonus move we can now get back to the window and use Broom Breach to get into that middle room. And for this one we might just have 1 Gale Grenade, but that's enough to push the neutralizer out of the window too. That leaves us now with the sniper, but before we take care of them, let's seal the second reinforcement door. Then we can use the real gen scale grenade to get them back in front of the window, and one last static blast now completes her confidence goal. At this point, we are also informed that with the room now secure, movement is unlimited, which means we can move back over to the window and use the last charge of Broom Breach to get right where we want to be. And even though the main objective only requires us to get 1 gen into the green zone, let's make it 2 for the sake of full completion. And with that, the first of 4 zones in this Anxiety Dream has been completed. I'm always insecure. It never made me dream about talking to a clone before. What's different tonight? Will you tell me? Wait, are you doing our therapist? This isn't about me. Oh my god, I'm never telling Robin my dream self roleplayed him. Yeah, best to hide any abnormal thoughts from your therapist so he'll like you more. That's probably the play there. Alright, you're dying to tell me why tonight. It's finally sunk in that you're never going home. You'd build an identity for yourself there as a PI. You clung to it. Now you're wanted in the DSR and an illegal alien anywhere else. Hard to see how you're ever going to get another license to go snooping in people's affairs. I mean, I could do it off book. How would people find you? Word of mouth? Whose mouths? That'd be mouths. I'd find mouths. I want to stop saying the word mouths. Maybe I could make cheese? Illegal cheese? Yes. That's your plan? Yes. Also, I wouldn't say being a PI was my identity. Last time Daryl brought in a mouse, you opened a case file. You wear your license when you go for coffee, and Banks is the first person you've met in a year without telling them you're a PI, only because she was in the middle of murdering someone at the time. Even then, you gave her a business card on the ferry, I remember. Let's just get on with this. Alright, something entirely different for this level then. We find ourselves in a rather tight space that will soon be crawling with enforcers, and to complete Jen's confidence goal we need to push all 14 of them out of a window. What makes this level so tricky is that on every turn we have more reinforcements come in than we have actions. Also, you may have noticed it already, these enforcers are coming through reinforcement doors that we cannot block off. And yes, we do have the Gale Grenade, but that's only 1 extra attack per gen, so we need to go about this pretty strategically. What we will make use of here is the fact that enforcers cannot attack us on the turn that they appear as reinforcements, and that in order to attack us in the 4C phase, they need to have line of sight. That is why Dream Gen can safely move very close to the enforcer who's still left, who we will also need to leave be for the moment, as a simple static blast can't defenestrate them anyway. That means that on turn 2 already we see ourselves confronted by 4 enemies, but we're going to reduce that number back down to 2 with only Dream Gen here, otherwise things might quickly become overwhelming. So we're using our first Gale Grenade early here, while the real Gen can then defenestrate the enforcer right in front of her, and with her bonus move we are going to position her smartly, always making sure that reinforcements can reach her, but in doing so position themselves right in front of a window. Right, so that has worked nicely I think, even though Dream Gen is currently surrounded by 2 enemies in rather unfortunate positions, but thankfully we can move right through them to get ourselves another defenestration. Since enforcers can also only move up to 3 tiles on their turn, using the bonus movement to get out of reach is pretty easy, which leaves the real Gen to defenestrate another hostile, and then she can just stay where she is. Now, since we only took out 2 enemies on the last turn, we are now up to 5. However, the next turn will also be the last one with reinforcements. The large number of enemies also makes it very likely that you always find someone to push out of a window, even though it is advisable to generally keep both of your gens on one side of the battlefield, otherwise the enemies might spread out a bit too much and you find yourself with no room to go. So what we're now doing here to end our turn having them in opposite corners, that is not ideal, although as you can see it does work out for us. Still, we are now up to 6 enemies. At the very least, the reinforcements have stopped, but again, because of those enemy numbers, keeping a safe distance becomes increasingly difficult. You can see it here with Dream Gen, just the tile in the corner here is safe, while the real Gen does have a bit more leeway. This does unfortunately also once again force our wizards into opposite corners of the map, although with the enemy numbers now dwindling that becomes less and less of a problem. And well, from this point onwards, the path to completion should be clear. One thing we need to pay a bit of attention to is not accidentally killing enforcers who have already been injured, because for the confidence goal we need to push every last one of them out of a window. So, only 2 left at this point and no more reinforcements coming in, so the rest of the way should be easy. And we haven't even used one of our Gale Grenades yet, or the Broom Breach ability for that matter, which I think the level actually somewhat invites you to use. And it is that Gale Grenade then that forces us to switch things up a bit on this last turn. Jen and Jen are exchanging positions, which allows the real Jen to use her Gale Grenade, putting the last enforcer into a prime defenestration spot. And there we are, 14 enemies pushed out of a window, and with that, the level as well as its confidence goal has been completed. You're panicking because you don't feel like a PI anymore, and you need that identity to feel valid. Oh, we're just getting right into it. There's a hole in your heart where your self-worth should be, and the job is just the latest ill-fitting thing you've tried to stuff in there to keep yourself functioning. Can you be Robin again, please? I like my insights with a little more compassion and a little less accuracy. I can't give you that. I'm the only person you have no compassion for. And Steve Clark. And Steve Clark. Come on, I'm asking you for compassion right now. And I don't know how to give it. All I can do is fixate on all the ways you're lacking. Pretty f***ed up. Hey, imagine if you treated anyone else this way. Except Steve Clark. No, yeah, I got the lesson. I'm just taking my time failing to internalize it. Can we do something less stressful, like beat up angry strangers to stop them sounding a nameless alarm in my mind? Sure, don't see any unhealthy symbolism in that. Alright, and with that we have now reached the level for which we have made that Gale Grenade change at the beginning. As we find ourselves in a room overrun by 5 officers, there's also a turret in here and 2 reinforcement doors. Obviously, we can't allow anyone to sound the alarm, and to make matters even more interesting, Jen wants to finish this by the end of turn 3, which is not really all that easy, considering that Jen and her skill set are not really well suited to taking out enemies, that is, unless they're standing close to windows. Especially in the case of these officers, who have 3 hit points and 1 point of armor, her static blast is not really all that useful. As you can see here, to take out 1 enemy we need 2 static blasts, essentially an entire turn. Now, what Jen is very good at, however, especially with that Gale Grenade upgrade, is movement. So what we can do here is aim that Gale Grenade in such a way that it does not damage Jen, but still targets her, and also takes out the officer. This now refreshes her movement action for the 2nd time this turn, allowing her to reach the command console for the turret, and all of a sudden we have added a rather powerful weapon to our side. Which brings us then to Dream Jen, whose turn will actually look pretty similar. She will move, static blast, and then move again, and then she too will target herself with the Gale Grenade. Crucially, this now allows her to reach that first reinforcement door, and sealing that one off is absolutely vital to being able to beat this mission in 3 turns, because there is a heavy gunner behind it, and again, even with a turret as backup, Jen is really not all that well equipped to engage those. As a matter of fact, in countless attempts I have not been able to beat this mission in 3 turns if the heavy gunner is allowed to appear. Nonetheless, we are far from in the clear. It is already turn 2 of 3 and we still have 4 enemies left, although we can quickly make that 3 with another static blast from the real Jen. With her bonus move, she can then catch up to the main enemy force, which brings us to Dream Jen and the first use of Chain Bolt in this video. As you can see, this won't kill anyone, but it gets us halfway there. In the foresee phase, the turret will now take out 1 of the 3 enemies. The other 2 are still not close enough to reach the alarm, but instead position themselves conveniently close to the electrified wall, which means 2 more static blasts and we're done here. Alright, there we are, perhaps once again not the way this level was intended to be played. There is definitely also an approach relying on Broom Breach. You can see the windows connecting the starting area to the one with the alarms, but I found that this is the way that works best. Okay, so you think I shouldn't be clinging to my job to fill the hole where my self-worth should be? I mean, I do hear it now, but like, do you have a better idea for something I can shove in there? 'Cause I've tried leaving it empty and that does not pan out. Don't you think that everyone deserves to feel loved, valued, and worthwhile? Except Steve Clark. Oh, absolutely. Except Steve Clark. So you should too, right? Sure, I'd like to, but it's like telling me, don't you deserve to make 80K a year? Maybe, but for some reason it ain't happening. So does it count for anything that you're a fucking storm witch? Not really. I don't exactly feel special on a team like this. For what it's worth, in an early beta, 87% of testers said you were their favorite wizard to play as. Are the fucking stage directions talking to you now? We've buffed the others since then, but you were also their favorite character as a person. That sounds like it would be validating if I could process it, but I'm not in the best place to shatter my concept of reality right now. Thanks though. You're a nice person, you try to help people. I do. That doesn't make you feel worthwhile? It actually kind of does, for like 20 to 40 minutes. It's a nice feeling, but there's some kind of a leak in my ego, and the validation drains out faster than I can cram more in it. Alright, that's all I had. What? Those were all the reasons I could think of that you might be worthwhile. You shut them down really well. I thought you were breaking me down so I'd be receptive to the hard-to-swallow but ultimately character-developing solution. Nope. Well, this little bout of introspection has left me in a great place. You think your confidence is low? I'm in a Jen Kellen self-doubt dream and I just found out I'm not even the main Jen Kellen. That is rough, sorry. Look, this might sound radical, but it might be you can't entirely solve your lifelong emotional damage by talking to yourself in a fucked-up combat dream. We could do some fucked-up dream combat though, right? We absolutely could. Alright, there we go, level 4 of 4, the final one for today. And who better to meet at the end of an anxiety dream than Steve the Traffic Warlock? Our goal is once again to reach the green zone, although this time with both of our gens. We also need to seal the reinforcement door beforehand, and this is where things get interesting, our confidence goal requires us to make Steve hit another Steve with ghost traffic. Now, as you can clearly see here, to get us started we only have one Traffic Warlock on the map, but a second one will soon emerge through this reinforcement door right here. So once again, this level and especially its confidence goal requires a bit of a setup. So let's get things started with a chain bolt, pushing the tracker into the sniper's line of fire. Then we also target the air canister here, allowing us to push the Traffic Warlock back one tile. So tracker down and we are out of Steve's ghost traffic range. At this point we can now move in with Dream Gen, use a static blast to take out the sniper too, and then move her as far over to the right side of the room as possible. After all, Steve number 2 needs someone to target, and this should make completion of the confidence goal possible. So, after the first round of reinforcements has arrived, an enforcer appears on the scene, in addition to that second Traffic Warlock, who has, just as planned, targeted Dream Gen. Unfortunately though, the first Steve has moved out of the line of fire. However, we can quickly take corrective action with a Gale Grenade from Dream Gen. This pushes the second Steve one tile to the right and puts the first one back into ghost traffic range. For a bit of extra movement, we are then going to use Broom Breach. Our goal for this turn is to close off the reinforcement door behind Steve 2, so let's static blast him and then use the bonus movement to do exactly that. With the real Gen, meanwhile, we are moving close to a window as well, and since the enforcer here has thankfully positioned themselves right next to an explosive barrel, a simple static blast is enough to take them out. Then we proceed, just like before, Broom Breach to get us closer to the reinforcement door. This one would actually have a third Traffic Warlock coming through, but I don't think we need poor Gen to suffer even more. On the 4C phase then, the first Steve only targets empty air, the second one meanwhile targets the first and thus completes the confidence goal, as well as the Jaywalker achievement. Now, despite that rather successful setup, we still have the issue of having two rather tough enemies against us here, and well, the windows to potentially push them through are in the middle of the room. Because of ghost traffic, however, we will most likely never see them go there. So how about this? If it worked once, it may well work again. With the real Gen here, we are going to move Broom Breach and then hit herself with a Gale Grenade. This allows her to move again, and now the cards are reversed. This time, Steve 1 will hit Steve 2. Dream Gen, meanwhile, will move for the laptop to give us access to the green zone. Then she can static blast Steve 2 into the wall. This causes him to take 2 points of damage, meaning that the 4 that he is about to suffer from Steve 1's ghost traffic will take him out. With one last broom breach then, we get ourselves into range to complete our final objective on the next turn, and so we can now watch Steve do the rest of the work for us. And there we go, our arch-nemesis moves exactly where we need to move as well. Standing right in front of a wall also seals his fate, at least for this anxiety dream. The first static blast still leaves him standing with 1 hit point, the second one meanwhile will take him out, and with our bonus moves we can also complete the level in one go. And there we are, hopefully seeing 2 Steves take each other out was somewhat cathartic for Jen. At the very least, playing through this anxiety dream has gained us 4 confidence points for her, not to mention another achievement. In addition, we have also acquired a unique perk for Jen, who can now hit twice as many targets with a single chain bolt, provided she's got 2 points of mana. So in theory, because we already upgraded the number of targets once, she could now hit up to 6 people with it, and there will be situations where this ability might come in handy. Now, very importantly, by completing this anxiety dream, we have also officially completed Act 2 of the game, and as a result, we unlock the Extraction achievement. As you can also see though, Act 3 and 4 will be slightly more lengthy in nature, so we are not quite at the halfway point just yet. However, we are getting closer, just as we are getting closer to unlocking the 4th outfit for Jen, 1 more confidence point and we can change her over to Private Eye. Finally then, a look at her upgraded set of perks. Very importantly, the super chain upgrade we just earned cannot be refunded, however it also did not cost a perk point in the first place. And so, here we are then, ready to tackle Act 3 in the next episode. For today, I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course also go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.